Hello, thank you so much for purchasing my mini board game kit. I am going to show you how to put it together. So with the kit, you'll get instructions plus this little bag of elements and a sheet of stickers that go with it. You will need a pair of scissors. I recommend something that you can do fine cutting with. Some glue. I recommend something with a precision tip. I particularly like this Barely Art Precision Craft Glue because it's nice, very fine tip, plus it's thin enough to get through that tip. But you can use any other kind of glue, regular Elmer's glue or Aleene's or something. And if you want to precision apply it, you can use a toothpick or an orange stick like this to just get a little bit on and dab it where you need it. Because we don't want to get glue everywhere during this project. So glue, a toothpick, a pair of tweezers, highly recommended because you're going to be working with teeny tiny pieces. This makes it easier. And a fine point, ultra fine point or extra fine point permanent marker. This kind of Sharpie is perfect and easy to come by. So that's what you're going to need. Let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is take the stuff out of this bag. And just get it all out. Make sure you get everything out that's in there. And what you got is 2 bags of little pieces and this red and blue cardboard, and then these white pieces, and they will be labeled A, B, C, and D. We're going to start with the Go to the Doctor game. And for that, we're going to start by making the box. Your box pieces for the Doctor game are A and B. And we're going to start with the lid. You're going to start by folding along these score lines very gently, just to get a fold going. You could go both ways if you want. I'm going to cover the A with the sticker, so that'll be the top of my lid. And I'm just folding it and then flattening it back out, because now we're going to put the sticker on. All right. So to put the sticker on, you're going to very carefully, this is the lid. You're going to very carefully peel this off. All right. If you need to get a tool to help kind of get the sticker going, you can, but just be careful to peel it off, because there you go. If you peel it too quickly, it might rip some of the backing sheet off, or rip the sticker itself. So just do that gently. Now, to put this on, it's going to line up perfectly with these flaps, all right? And to get it as straight as possible, I usually just try to line it up with one edge first. Try it a couple different ways to see how you can get it comfortably straight and fitting. You can gently pull it off right in the beginning if you need to reposition it, but if you do that too much, it's going to start ripping. So just be careful. Okay. And once you get that one edge down, the rest will fit just fine. And gently rub that. Don't rub this too hard. You don't want to like scratch it up. And now you're going to fold again. So that's why we did that pre-fold, just so that it'll be easier to fold with the sticker on it. Okay. So now you can see the lid shape starting to come together. And what you're going to do is you're going to take these little tabs right here, and they're going to fold in underneath the edges like this, and then you just fold like that. And to get it to stick, we're going to use glue. You can either use this kind of glue or get a little bit of glue on like a piece of cardboard and use the tip of a toothpick or something to just get a little bit of glue on your tab. All right. So I'm just going to start with one side. You don't need much. So I'm just pushing this in for right now. I'm not squeezing yet, because the key is I want this to be as square as possible. So I'm kind of pushing that in, holding it with these 2 fingers. I'm applying pressure, And then I'm going to take my tweezers, which is very handy to have, and just do a squeeze right here to get it to hold. And hold that for about 10 seconds. And then that gives it a nice hold. And do it on the other side. Again, making sure this is as square as you can get it. Okay. And then I'm going to do the other side. Just a dot of glue on that little flap tab. And again, just fold it in and give, as you're pushing this in to create as square as you can, use these two fingers to create pressure on either side. It gives it that boxy shape. And then I'm going to again go in with my tweezers and squeeze. And do the other side. I had a professor in college who would say glue without pressure is like no glue at all. So make sure you put pressure here for at least 10 seconds to get that bond so that it doesn't pop open later when you're putting the box final assembly together. All right, so I'm going to set this aside to let it dry. We're going to make the bottom of the box. This is your B piece. Again, you're going to just fold your pieces, and you could have this be the bottom of the box or the inside. It's really your preference. I'm going to do it as the inside. Fold your pieces, get your flaps, tabs folded over. This one, no sticker. We're just doing the same concept as the top and gluing these little tabs in place. Let this dry. Don't try to fiddle with it until it's dry because it'll just pop open. All right. And now we're going to work on the board. This is the Go to the Doctor board. For this, you're going to need the red pieces of little poster board. They're already cut to size, but I'm going to start with just one piece. All right. So then you take your sticker. This is the Go to the Doctor game. Just make sure you're paying attention to which one you peel off. And again, gently peel this off. If you're finding that it's kind of sticking, just be careful. All right, so for this, what I do is I put the sticker face down on a flat surface, and then I take the poster board, one piece, and line it up against the edge as straight as I can. And then it makes the second piece go on a lot easier to do them one at a time. And I'm going to go ahead, just in case there's some slight discrepancies in the cut and shape, line it up on the other edge. Don't line it up on the center, because that center is going to fold, and if there's a little bit of space there, that's actually fine. So again, line it up as close to the edge as you can. Get that nice and pressed down. Okay, and now your board is made, and you can just fold it. Now there might be a little adhesive exposed here. That's actually fine. If you wanted, I've experimented with putting tape here. It ends up, what the tape does is it ends up making the board sort of stay open like that, which makes it hard to close the box. So I decided to have no tape here. If you wanted to put some tape here for the look of it, you can. But I have personally found that the board game will stay flat like this easier if I don't have tape right here. But you can mess with it and customize it all you want. But that folds and unfolds really nicely. And it has that look of a folded board game. And it stays flat when you open it. So that's great. Now we're going to work on the pieces for this game, which come in the bag labeled E. All right. So let's get all the stuff out of here. I want you to note there is a long, sharp pin in this bag for something we're going to do. It's a tool that you just get. You don't have to use it in the game. So just don't poke yourself with this. It will be sharp. And then just kind of dump out all your pieces. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to have your money pieces. You're going to have, this is to make the spinner, these two circle pieces in the tiny little triangle. Don't lose that triangle. Then you're going to have this little piece of metal that goes with your spinner. Okay. And then these little 4 foam dots are your like playing pieces. Okay. So let's start by making the spinner because I don't want to lose these pieces while we mess with all this other stuff. These pieces are done, so if I just want to, just for fun, put them on my board, I can. Okay, and we're going to make the spinner. To make the spinner, don't lose these pieces. We're going to start by assembling this in layers, all right? So the first layer is putting the sticker on this little piece of orange cardboard. All right, so again, gently peel that off. And it should fit right on top of the orange sticker. Try to center it best you can. It's okay if it's not exactly perfect. There you go. So that's on there now. Now this is gonna go, you're gonna create kind of a little sandwich here with this orange side is going to stick to the sticky side of this foam, and that's going to give it some depth. All right, so you're going to take the foam, peel the little adhesive back off, and then place that in the center of the underside of the spinner. Center that as best you can. They're all about the same size. They might be slightly different, but just center it. And there you go. Okay, now I'm going to take this pin and I'm going to poke a hole straight down through the center, all right? Not at an angle, but straight down through this center. I can place it down on a flat surface that I don't mind poking into and go right straight through, and you'll kind of stick it like that, and then you can carefully poke it through. Be careful not to poke yourself with this pin. Try not to bend the spinner too much, but make sure there's a nice hole that you've created there. What you want to do is take the pin after you've poked the hole and kind of like stir that around, gently grasping it. Don't bend it up, but you kind of want to make this hole a little bit bigger. Okay. That's going to be covered. So, but yeah, you want to make that hole just a little bit bigger. And then you're going to take your triangle piece. Now your triangle piece already has a tiny little hole in it. Okay. All right. Because what we're going to do is thread this little elbow pin that I've got for you through both the triangle and the circle part to the back. And it will sort of sit flat like that. Okay. A couple ways to do this. You can try to thread it through both at the same time or do one at a time. I'm going to do one at a time for now. I'm holding it with tweezers because it just makes it a little bit easier for you to see, but you might need to hold it with your fingers to get a better grip on this part. You're going to be careful not to bend this little piece of cardboard, but you should be able to just stick that through and you thread it up to the top. So it's like flat, you know, it'll be flat against there. Now you're going to thread this with the triangle on it through the circle part. And again, flatten it out. So now this part is on the bottom, flat against the orange part. And then this is like this. And guess what? The reason we do this is so that it will spin, which is frickin' cute, right? I just love this. It took me forever to figure out how to do this in a way that I could reproduce and that other people could do easily. But I think it's so cute. It spins. If you don't want to do all this and it's just too hard for you to work with these tiny pieces, you can go ahead and glue this triangle down and put like a black dot with a Sharpie on top. If you don't want to do all that, if it's just too hard for you, that's okay. I know this is like fine motor skills type stuff. And you don't even need to tape this down on the back or to secure this at all, because I like to leave it loose so it can spin easily. Your spinner is done. This game is almost complete. I like to put that like right next to it. And then the final piece, final element of this is your little money pieces. So this is just a matter of cutting them out. You're going to be tempted to like just pile these up and cut through 4 layers, but if you do that, even if you got them, think you got them lined up, you're going to end up cutting some of the dollars incorrectly underneath. So unfortunately, I do recommend just doing this the tedious way. Cut your long edge all the way across, cut all the way down first. Longest cuts first, so like this. And then you can just snip off each dollar very carefully. Long cut first. A tip I recommend when you're doing really fine cutting is use these 2 fingers on your left hand if you're right-handed, or opposite if you're left-handed, to steady the bottom blade of your scissors. That way you can really get it right where you want it, and you're just moving the top blade down in a way. That's just a thing I just learned through experience. You probably already do it anyway when you're cutting and don't realize it. And when you realize oh, that's what my hand is naturally doing to steady this, you realize you have more control than you thought. And you can get much straighter cuts because you're steadying that piece of paper and not just holding it loose and going deep, 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 deep. Yay! All right, and you can go so far as to like, you know, organize that money, have it all face up or whatever. Because if you're going to display this little game somewhere, like in a miniature scene or in a dollhouse or just on your shelf or something, you might want to glue pieces down and have it as like a static setup. Totally can do that. Just use a precision glue, I would recommend. And maybe even super glue with that precision tip. And then, you know, you can organize your money. However, I'm putting this on the miniature bookshelf. So I'm going to pile all these pieces into the box that I've made. So I'm just going to put my board in. Now, if you didn't fold this exactly correctly or misaligned things, it might be a tight squeeze into the box. That's okay. But actually, you just want to make sure your box lid is dry when you do this, because again, it could pop open. It being a tight fit actually ends up being a good thing because it keeps the game board from like flipping open, and then you can pile all your pieces in and have the game board, you know, close in a way that looks real. I'm gonna put all my money pieces in, my little game pieces, and my spinner. There we go. And then you just put your lid on. You might have to work with it a little, squeeze it on. That's okay. We want it to be a snug fit because that way it stays nice and shut. And there we go. Go to the doctor. America's healthcare adventure game. All right, now we're going to make the autocracy game, and it's pretty much the same process. And for this game, you're going to go to bag F. These are all your little pieces and accessories that go with it. And for this, there are a lot of really tiny loose pieces. So little tip is I would get a piece of felt to dump it out on so they don't go flying everywhere. All right, little tip. So what you've got is your money, some cards, and like little pieces. Okay, so the gold pieces are like your playing pieces, and then the little red beads and green beads are like in Monopoly, like hotels and houses, like that kind of thing. So these are just pieces you can arrange on the board or in the box. You also get 2 blank die, your dice right here. And I'm going to show you how to put the numbers on here. This is where you're going to need your permanent extra fine point pen. It's really important that it's permanent. I've tried a bunch of different types of pens on this material, and other types of pens will smear and ruin it. So make sure you're using a permanent ink. Sharpie is the easiest one to find, and a lot of people already have this around the house. So here's the thing. This is a delicate process. If you just want to skip this all together, you totally can. But if you want to make the extra detail come to life, you're going to dot very carefully the numbers on your dice. But first, I'm going to do a test with my marker just to make sure that it has ink in it, and I get the sort of vibe of, see how little lines happen if I'm too careless. But if I go straight down, you know, a very clean, see, if you're not even, you got to be very, very gentle with it. Okay. Straight down and up, just a little dot. Practice it on another surface first. And obviously this is this wax paper and it's like absorbing the ink. Okay. So you're going to take your dice, and I'm going to start with the number 1. That's going to be easiest. What you can do is use tweezers to hold it in place. You can use a little piece of tape to hold it down, but I think tweezers is the best because you want this to be very still. And you're going to go straight down onto the dice. So you're not going to be able to see me do this, but you're just going to dot it straight down. And this takes steady hand. Boom. Oh, and see, you might even dot it and no ink happens. So you're going to work on, you know, maybe dot it, get ink down into the tip, find a pen that's like newer, but you really want to practice it, what kind of pressure. So just very gently dot it. See, you can barely see that, but it's worth it. And in fact, you're doing 2, so you might want to just line up both dice in your tweezers, like so. So you can do 2 at once. That's up to you. So you're very, very carefully doing this. And give it a couple seconds. You don't want it to smear. And then you're just going to turn your dice and count up to 6. So you're going to work your way up. All right, get those lined up in your tweezers. One at a time might be easier for you. I'm being impatient, and I'll probably regret this, but let's give it a go. Let's do 2. That's 2 dots in each corner, or 2 dots in, see, that's okay if it's a little sloppy. This is extremely, extremely difficult to do. So don't beat up yourself if you don't get it right. I promise you it's worth it though, because then just the visual of like, oh wait, and you can arrange it where like maybe where you messed up, it doesn't, that what side is like facing down or whatever. Okay, 3 across diagonal. 1, 2, 3. Less is more. 1, 2, 3. Ah! We're doing it. All right, next blank side. Let me do one at a time for the harder pieces. Okay. Each corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is the hardest one. There we go. Okay, and then 6 is your last side. Ooh, look at that. Now we've got our dice, and that looks so cool. I'm going to leave them on my felt so they don't go flying, and I'm going to go ahead and cut up my money and my cards. All right. So same as before. Use steady scissors, steady hand. All right, so the money, you're going to cut up the money just like you did the other game. I actually already cut some. All right, so now you've got all your pieces. You can set them up if you want. You know, you can create a little game scene. You can put your cards down, face down. You can make it seem a little middle of in play. Arrange your money. Put your dice in the middle. Put some pieces on the board. These are the little player pieces. Using tweezers really helps. Oop. And if they're like rolling all over the place and you really are trying to make this like a set scene, you can use tiny dots of glue to keep things in place. And but yeah, tweezers are going to be your best friend during that process, because these things are going to be real loose and wonky. But I'm going to put mine on the bookshelf, so I'm going to place everything into the box. And I found that the best way is to put the board in first. And again, squeeze it on in there. It might be sticking up a little bit, but that's okay. Hopefully all these little pieces and the lid are going to keep it down. And you can use tweezers. If you had it on felt, you could use the felt to dump it in. Sometimes just using your fingertip to pick things up, especially little pieces of paper, works, because you've got just enough like oil on your hand as like it's like a little adhesive there, so you can just pick up with your fingertip. All right, we've got all the pieces in, and now see, it might pop up, so hold that board down. I know this is like annoying, but you'll figure it out. Then you take your lid and you just jam that on down on there, gently though. And a tight fit is what we want, so that way it stays closed when it's on the bookshelf. And there you have it. Those are your 2 board games. Thank you so much. I hope you got the other parts of the kit and watch the other tutorials. See you later.